These children are kids who've been removed from their home. They are children who were born into a family that for one reason or another at the moment doesn't work out. They are in the care and custody of the state of Missouri, and CASA's mission is to make sure that that child is not a number, that child is not a statistic. We train lay volunteers to advocate for kids through the court process. We employ CASA Case Supervisors that work diligently with those volunteers and the attorneys, and we have attorneys on staff that are providing a voice for every child in the courtroom.
So as a CASA Case Supervisor, it's my job to oversee volunteers. I work on cases with a 3-person team with an attorney, the volunteer. I tell people I'm kind of like the social worker on the case. I work to find resources and holes so we can get kids to permanency.
As a case supervisor, I generally am kind of a go-between between the volunteer and the attorney handling the case for CASA. I also will work with giving the volunteer guidance as far as questions or concerns that come up. We'll sometimes coordinate between the Children's Division caseworker, pretty much try to help the volunteers do anything they can to advocate better for the children.
I attend court and advocate for the children during all of their hearings, as well as attending hearings and doing everything else a lawyer might do, filing motions, making phone calls, all the rest, advocating for children.
We really work on a team to make sure that every child has a voice inside the courtroom and outside the courtroom. While the legal process is important and is the ultimate decision maker, a lot of decisions about kids, where they're placed, who they see, how often they get to see their parents, a lot of those decisions are made outside the courtroom.
In my caseload, I have at least 200 children. That's about 60 cases, and I have about 55 volunteers. It's just not possible to do this work without a CASA volunteer representing the child. Maybe I could do like an 1/8 of the caseload that I have right now, something like that, a 1/10, I don't know. But it's just not possible to do what we do at CASA without volunteers.
The CASA volunteer is essential for my role and for the role of the CASA team. The volunteer goes and visits our kids every month, and sometimes more than once a month. They work to build relationships with all of the people involved in our kids' cases and in their lives to help reach our goals and help reach permanency.
I think what it means to be a CASA volunteer is to be a very strong advocate for a child that sometimes doesn't have anyone else.
I think that there are times when, especially in the beginning, there are times when children who have been victims of incredible trauma, neglect, abuse, and I think with all volunteers, I think that the first thing you have to be able to do is commit to that child. It's the most stable person, generally, that a child who is under the jurisdiction of family court will have in their lives as their CASA volunteer.
If you're thinking of being a CASA, it's worth it. It's not always going to be easy, but just remember you're there for the kid. That's what being a CASA is. It's your kid's voice.
This system is really hard. It's really difficult to navigate through, and I think our CASA volunteers, we couldn't do it without them.
We need the community support because we can't do it without the community, and a lot of the issues we're dealing with are community issues, and so this is important to us, but to society as a whole, to give these families help.
CASA always needs volunteers. Volunteers who have a passion for children and a passion for justice and a passion to see children safe in their environment.
CASA is a very worthy organization to support because You are not doing it for the adults who are doing this work. You're doing it for the children.
Donations go to making sure that every child that is in the custody of the state of Missouri has a voice, has an advocate, and that voice is heard throughout the court system and throughout their lives to make sure that that child ends up with a safe and permanent home. When you give to CASA, you're helping to change a child's story for the better.